Welcome back to Priestess Initiations, the Goddess Coven. I'm Casey, and this is episode 3. Today we're talking about why the body matters, why you can't think your way through initiation, why descent work that stays in your head isn't actually descent at all. If you've been doing spiritual work or personal growth for a while, you've probably noticed something. You can understand something intellectually. You can know it's true. You can talk about it articulately and still be completely stuck in a pattern. That's because the knowing is in your head, not your body. And the body knows what the mind forgot. The body holds the truth your mind has been avoiding. The body is where transformation actually happens. Let's start with why this matters for initiation and descent work. When you go through an initiation, trauma, loss, rupture, disintegration, your body holds the experience. Not just your mind, not just your emotions, your body. Trauma lives in your tissues. Fear lives in your nervous system. Grief lives in your chest, your throat, your belly. Rage lives in your jaw, your fists, the straightening of your spine. These aren't just metaphors. This is physiology. Your body remembers everything your mind has tried to forget. It remembers the moment you learned you weren't safe, the moment you learned you had to be small to be loved, which isn't love at all, of course. The moment you learned your voice didn't matter, the moment something broke that you couldn't put back together. And here's what happens. Your mind moves on. Your mind creates stories, rationalizations, coping mechanisms. Your mind says, I'm over it, I've processed it, I understand why it happened. But your body is still there, still holding the contraction, still braced for impact, still waiting for permission to release. That's why you can do years of talk-based work, insight after insight, understanding after understanding, and still feel stuck. Because the work stayed in your head. The body was never invited into the process. And the goddesses work through the body. Persephone's descent is felt in your bones. Lilith's rage is felt in your blood. Medusa's gaze is felt in your spine. The straightening of it as your power returns. Isis's reassembly magic happens through your hands, your breath, your heartbeat. You can't become sovereign by thinking about sovereignty. You have to embody it. You have to feel it in your tissues, practice it in your movements, breathe it into your nervous system. Descent work that doesn't include the body is incomplete. It's spiritual bypassing in a different form, staying in the mind to avoid feeling what's actually alive in your body. So what does it mean to work somatically? What does it mean to bring the body into the descent? I have a master's degree in body psychotherapy. And what that training taught me is that the body is not a vehicle for the mind. It's not just carrying your head around. The body is intelligent. The body has its own knowing. The body speaks in sensation, not words. Somatic work means paying attention to what's happening in your body right now, in this moment. Not analyzing it, not interpreting it, just noticing it. What sensations are present? Where do you feel tightness, openness, hot, cold, aliveness, numbness? Remembering that numbness is often an emotion. What is your breath doing? Is it shallow and held, or deep and easeful? What's the quality of your energy? Contracted or expansive, frozen or flowing? This is the language of the body, and most of us have forgotten how to speak it. We live in a culture that's deeply disembodied. We're taught to override our body's signals, push through exhaustion, ignore hunger, suppress tears, smile when we're angry. We're taught that the body is something to control, to perfect, to transcend. But what if the body isn't the problem? What if the body is the path? When you're in an initiation, your body will tell you before your mind catches up. You'll feel the tightness in your chest before you can name the grief. You'll feel the clench in your jaw before you can admit you're enraged. You'll feel the collapse in your spine before you realize you've given your power away. And when you're ready to reclaim something, your voice, your boundaries, your pleasure, your wildness, your body will show you how. Not through thinking about it, but through practicing it. Through standing differently, breathing differently, moving differently. Embodiment is the practice of coming home to your body, of listening to what it's telling you, of letting it guide you through the descent instead of dragging it along behind your racing mind. And here's what I've learned through my own work. The body doesn't lie. Your mind can rationalize, spiritualize, bypass, but your body tells the truth. Always. If your body is tense, you're not as healed as you think. If your body contracts when someone enters the room, you're not as over it as you've convinced yourself. If your body goes numb when you talk about something, there's medicine there that you haven't touched yet. The body knows, and the body will wait patiently, persistently, until you're ready to listen. And so I just want to take a moment to reiterate that even though I'm doing a lot of education here on somatics and the nervous system, in this space, we're doing priestess work. And the line here, right, is I'm not here to treat mental health conditions. That's not what this space is for. That's not what this specific podcast is for. This podcast is for spiritual work. But in order to understand spiritual work, sometimes we have to understand the way our body and our nervous system work. Because to do spiritual work without the body is the definition of spiritual bypassing, in my completely unbiased, it's very biased, opinion. And one of the most important things to understand about the body is the nervous system. Because your nervous system is running the show, whether you're aware of it or not. Your nervous system has different states. You've probably heard of fight or flight. That's your sympathetic nervous system activating when it perceives threat. Your heart races, your breath quickens, your muscles tense. You're ready to fight or run. There's also freeze. That's when your system perceives a threat it can't fight or flee from, so it shuts down. You go numb, dissociate, collapse. This is a protective response. Your system is saying, I can't handle this, so I'm going offline. And a lot of people get stressed by their freeze responses when they come up. And I think it's important to remember that freeze is adaptive. Freeze happens for a reason. And then there's fawn, the people-pleasing response. When fight, flight, and freeze aren't options, your system tries to appease the threat. You become accommodating, compliant, focus on making others comfortable so you'll be safe. A lot of women live in a fawn state because it's how we were taught to survive. And we passed it on. We socialized this into our daughters and granddaughters. And here, we're working on dismantling that. And when you work with a lot of these dark goddesses, as we could call some of them, they're going to ask you to stop fawning and start fighting. And that's a different nervous system state. And the last nervous system state I want to talk about is the ventral vagal state. That is the state of safety and social engagement. This is when your nervous system feels safe enough to be present, to connect, to rest. Your breath is easeful. Your body's relaxed. You're available for relationship and pleasure. Most of us move through these states all day, every day, without even realizing it. And if you've been through trauma or ongoing stress, your system might be stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You might be hypervigilant, always scanning for danger. Or you might be numb, disconnected, going through the motions. Or you might be constantly accommodating others, unable to access your own needs or boundaries. If that's the case, as you do this work here, I highly recommend that you go, and if it's accessible to you, you find a somatic therapist. Because here on this podcast, we are doing body and nervous system work, but we are doing it from a spiritual lens. And so, bringing it back, why does this matter for initiation and descent work? Because you can't do deep transformational work if your nervous system doesn't feel safe enough. If you're in fight or flight, you're in survival mode. There's no capacity for integration, for feeling, for presence. If you're in freeze, you're shut down. There's no access to your body's wisdom. And if you're in fawn, you're so focused on others that you can't feel yourself. Deep work requires a nervous system that's regulated enough, not perfectly regulated, but regulated enough to stay present with discomfort without collapsing or running away. And that's a practice. That's something you build again and again. And this is why I emphasize grounding, breath work, orienting to your environment, resourcing, and referring you to therapy if that feels helpful. All of these are ways to help your nervous system feel safe enough to do the work. And this is why you can't rush initiation. Your nervous system needs to integrate. Your body needs time to process. Pushing yourself to get through it faster just re-traumatizes your nervous system. It teaches your body that it's not safe to feel, to slow down, to be present. The descent happens at the pace your body can hold, not the pace your mind wants. Not the pace the self-help industry tells you it should. The pace your body needs. And part of reclaiming your sovereignty is learning to honor that pace, to trust your body's wisdom, to let your nervous system guide you instead of overdoing it. For me, that was one of the hardest edges. I have so many Scorpio placements. I am immersed in the world of transformation, of self-help, self-care, and I love to go deep. I want to be in the depths all the time. And yet, sometimes my body needs rest or play. Sometimes my body needs to say, hey, can we just be in lightness for a few days, please? And I have to let go and say yes. Right? So that's kind of the opposite perspective, which some of you might resonate with, and some of you might be like, well, I'd rather do 2 days of deep transformation and the rest of the time be in play. And that's fine. That's your pace, right? It's a little bit about my journey into the body. My moon is in Gemini, so my emotions like to be intellectualized. They like to be talked through. I have been in therapy for years myself as a client, and I talk a lot. I talk a lot there. I'm on a podcast. I'm a talker, right? But when I was 13, I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And even before that, all the way back in 5th grade, I was diagnosed with chronic migraines. Turns out I don't have them. A few MRIs later, they're like, no migraine lesions. You don't got migraines, is what the doctors tell me. And honestly, they've mostly gone away. But these chronic health issues, they started me on this journey of really questioning, what is happening in my body and nervous system? Why don't the doctors understand what's going on? Why do all my blood tests show inflammation markers, but there's no drug for what I'm going through? And when I try something, I feel even crappier. In part because I'm a highly sensitive person, and medications and Western medicine in my system tend not to mesh. If they mesh for you, awesome. In mine, they didn't. And so I really had to go on this journey of learning wellness and supplements and food allergies. I am allergic to wheat bran, which, as you can imagine, took forever to figure out. Because they test for celiac, and then if it's not celiac, they test for gluten, and it's not that. And I was like, I swear I can't eat gluten. Well, I can't eat wheat bran, so I can't eat gluten. But you know how I knew that? Because my body was telling me the whole time, right? And so really what brought me to somatic work was my own healing, was realizing that thinking and intellectualizing wasn't enough. And it wasn't getting me the answers that I needed. What did get me the answers that I needed was listening to myself, was listening to my own signals. And when I went to graduate school, and I did my training, so much shifted as I learned to work somatically because I was learning it in myself. I was doing hands-on learning, and I was practicing everything I now preach. And I still do, right? But there are, of course, days when I hyper-intellectualize. We all have them. But it's a practice of coming back to the body again and again. And the fall that I'll talk about just a little later this season was kind of an ultimate initiation of embodiment. My hands were not usable. I had to listen to my body's intelligence during the fall itself and after, and its asks for rest, and its asks for when to push, when to know what I needed. Even if that meant sometimes that it wasn't always what the doctors recommended in terms of PT. And also to really lean into vulnerability, because it was forced upon me. My body was forced to be vulnerable in a way that it's never been before. I think I had 11 different people, including my partner, his mom, my mom, so many friends, physically feed me. Wild experience. And what my body has taught me that my mind never could is that descent and transformation happens on a cellular level. The spiritual work integrates into the physical. And the body, for me, has become the plane between mind and spirit. It is the communicator. The mind can communicate with the body, and the body can communicate with spirit. And that's why you can't separate priestess work from body work. So when I say the body knows what the mind forgot, I'm speaking from lived experience. My body has been my greatest teacher, and it's been the most honest one. So pretty soon in the episodes that follow, we're going to start talking about some specific goddesses. And for the most part, I'm going to talk about them in the order that I worked with them, that they showed up for me the first time. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's when I deep dived with them. But the first goddess to show up for me was Persephone. And I was obsessed with Persephone as a teenager. There was just something about her and her story. It never quite sat right with me. And I was a romance novel reader. I was always on Wattpad. Some of you might remember what that is. I think it's still out there. But back in the day, that was where you read all the free fantasy romance books. And yeah, I was into all the Persephone and Hades novels. And as I'd read about Persephone and these retellings of her, I would feel her. I'd feel her in my heart. I'd feel her deeper than that, though, especially this time of year in fall when the descent is happening. And I wasn't particularly connecting with Persephone, goddess of spring, too often. I do now. But at this time, I was really connecting with Persephone's descent and the shadow work and becoming queen of the underworld. And it felt like that underworld environment was the only place that all my wild, big hormones and emotions as a teenager were welcome. And I connected with the colors, the black and the red. They resonated with me. I wanted to eat pomegranates. I wanted to eat red foods and fruits and just wear black. And I was moody a little bit as a teenager, as you can imagine. But as I continued to work with Persephone, I've gotten a better sense of her. And she has 2 somatic signatures for me. She has a separate one as Queen of the Underworld and a different one as Goddess of Spring. I'll talk about those a little bit more in her episode. But as Queen of the Underworld, I feel her in the bones, in the heaviness of the bones, not dry, brittle bones, wet bones with bone marrow flowing through them, alive and dark and mysterious and full of potential. And in the spring, I feel this upward pull, like I'm a flower, literally growing. And when I dance with Persephone in the spring, it feels like this light flowing movement, this effervescent glow coming over me, pinks and greens. And that's very different from the next goddess, Lilith, who, gosh, when I think of Lilith, I think of black and purple. And I'll always be relating to colors because I'm an artist, and so I don't know how to turn that part of my brain off. I'm very visual. And visualization can help with somatic work. It really can. When you're struggling to connect to the body, picture it. Ask yourself, what color is that part? Picture your body in the room that you're in right now. That's tapping into something we'll talk about later, but proprioception is the name for it. And so Lilith is like in my claws. I do my nails, and there's something about that. I feel her in that. I feel her in them. I feel Medusa in my claws too, and I call them claws or talons. And they're not crazy sharp or crazy long. But they feel powerful. They feel like a reclamation of power. And Lilith is also in the shoulders. There's this like push, something that's happening. It's a push. And it's also a holding. It's kind of like you're holding the line. For those of you that watched Game of Thrones, you remember hold the door. It's like that. It's like Hodor, hold the door. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention that here, but I think so. I'm pretty sure that's in popular culture by now. And yeah, I feel like she is the embodiment of no. And that gesture for me, that like I am going to hold my ground. Lilith is like feet planted deep in the earth. Wildness. That's her. And then there's Medusa. And Medusa is in the eyes. I feel her in my eyes. I feel her in my hips. There's something about when you're really tapped into Medusa's energy that makes other people want to watch you, but also feel overwhelmed by it. There's this thing. It's like you'll find them. They're looking at you out of the side of their eye, and then they look away because it's too much. Because you're really like Medusa's sexy. Like there's something in there. And like untouchable at the same time. And you feel that in your body. It's this, your spine feels solid, but slithery like a snake. And then there's, Hecate and Isis and Kali, and we'll talk about all of them a little more. Everyone's going to get their own episode this season. But yeah, Hecate is in the stillness, in the third eye. Isis is in the hands and the heart. She's really in the heart space. I feel her as this glowing light. And Kali is this like full body fierceness, kind of like Lilith, except there's more movement to it. Kali is like Lilith's energy, but like dancing. There's like the spinning, and I feel it in my feet. Like I could stomp out a wildfire or ignite one. Each goddess has a somatic signature though, and as you work with them, you'll feel them differently in your body. And your somatic signatures might be different than mine, but your body will tell you which goddess is present. And this is embodied spirituality, not abstract concepts, but felt experience, right? The goddesses, they're not ideas. They're forces you feel. Whether you believe in them as deities or archetypes, they are still forces that you feel. And when you know where they live in your body, you can call them in when you need them. You can embody them. You can let them work through you. So just briefly, I want to talk about the difference between embodied spirituality and spirituality in your head. A lot of spiritual and personal growth work is deeply disembodied. It's all about transcendence, getting above the body, above the emotions, above the mess of being human. It's about raising your vibration, manifesting, thinking positive, choosing love over fear. And while some of that can be useful, and we will probably talk about choosing love and manifesting here, this over-reliance on thinking positive or raising your vibration often becomes another way to avoid the body, another way to bypass what's actually happening in your lived experience. Embodied spirituality says you don't transcend the body to reach the divine. The body is the divine. The body is the temple. The body is where the goddesses live. Embodied spirituality says descend into the body, not away from it. Feel the grief, the rage, the pleasure, the aliveness. Let your body be the container for transformation, not the thing you're trying to escape. This is what the goddesses teach. They're not ethereal beings floating around in some abstract spiritual realm. They're fierce, embodied, bloody, sexual, wild. They live in your bones, your blood, your breath. Persephone descends into the body of the earth. Lilith is exiled into the wilderness of the body. Medusa's power is in her gaze, her physicality, her refusal to be controlled. Isis uses her hands to reassemble the body of Osiris, her consort. And Kali dances on Shiva's body, drenched in blood, and he's in awe of her. If your spirituality is all light, love and light, and no body, all transcendence and no descent, you're missing half the work. And that doesn't mean you're not doing work. Love and light spirituality is a piece of the puzzle. But you're missing the goddesses who live in the shadows, in the depths, in the wild, untamed places of the body. Embodiment is not about perfecting your body or making it more spiritual. It's about coming home to your body exactly as it is. Scarred, soft, strong, vulnerable, wild, sacred. So let's close with a simple embodiment practice. You can do this right now, wherever you are. If you're driving, stay safe and just be present with your body. But if you're sitting, walking, or lying down, that's perfect. So just take a breath. Not a good breath. Just notice the breath you're already taking. Is it shallow or deep? Held or flowing? Fast or slow? Don't change it. Just notice without judging. Just beginning this practice of noticing your breath. Now bring your attention to your body. Not to think about your body, but to feel it from the inside. Notice your feet on the ground or wherever they are. Feel the contact. Sometimes it's helpful to wiggle your toes if you're struggling. Feel the support beneath you, the chair, the floor, the earth. The earth can hold you. Nothing you are holding is too big for Mother Earth. Notice your spine. Is it curved, straight, collapsed, tall? Again, no judgment. Try not to adjust it. We're just noticing. And that letting go of judgment might be the hardest part for you. That's okay. It gets to be a practice. So just scan through your body, noticing where you feel any tension. Where do you feel ease? Where do you feel nothing at all? And now just for a moment, ask your body, what do you need me to know right now? Don't think about the answer, feel for it. It might come as a sensation, an image, an impulse to move or breathe differently. It might not come at all, and that's okay too. Just practice listening, practice coming home. This is the beginning of embodiment. This is how you start to hear what your body's been trying to tell you. And so we're coming to our end of the episode today with a reminder that everything we explore here lives in practice. There's a link in our bio to join our free community where you'll find our ritual grimoire, embodiment library, and online workshops diving deeper into the work. We also have launched a Patreon where you can get extra offerings paired with monthly new moon rituals. There are discounts if you want to do one-on-one work with me, or for my wedding officiant services. And there's also something called the Coven Shop, which is on our website. And that's a place where you can list your business to our community. Everyone can see the businesses that are there, but the listings are only for Patreon members. And that's just a way to keep supporting this free work that we're doing. The podcast, the Ritual Grimoire, the Embodiment Library, some of our online workshops are always free. And so, lean into what feels good for you. But subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And trust the spiral. This podcast is spiritual teaching, not therapy or medical advice.